Yeah, we're joined by Stefan Okunbor here. Stefan, how are things with you?
Yeah, not too bad. Can't complain.
Good. So you're here. You're taking part in the Plant for the Planet Games later this month in Kenya. So the games are the brainchild of Warriors for Humanity founder and former Galway dual player Alan Kerins, and it'll feature 50 male and female inter-county Gaelic players from across all four codes. The aim is to highlight the impact of climate change and raise sufficient funds to plant 1 million trees in Africa. So just to even ask you about that, talk to us about this whole thing and Kenya and what it's going to be like.
Look, it's huge. I've never been part of something like this before. Like my father's extremely excited for me to get over there. It's going to be new for Ireland, Gaelic as a whole. And I'm really looking forward to getting out there in 2 weeks.
Would climate change be something that you're strong on, or is there a bit of a don't mean this in a bad way? Is there a bit of a Greta Thunberg in you?
Jesus, lads. I guess to some degree, yeah, it's definitely a conversation that's been brought amongst my mates and I, far more now, more so in the past. And I guess the majority of people my age would feel fairly strong towards climate change. So.
Yeah, there's a kind of a thought chain. I know Christy Moore actually wrote a song about it, that where our actions of this current generation are massively affecting us, but they're massively going to affect the next generation as well. And I was over in Paris there last weekend. It was 21 degrees at the end of October, and you're wearing a t-shirt around during the day, and you're just thinking there's something wrong here, and there's a lot of kind of weird things going on. But it's definitely going to be a great experience for you, without a doubt.
Yeah, it should be eye-opening, a whole new perspective, and being in a position to be an ambassador for such a great cause is massive. Yeah, it's huge.
And are you excited about actually just going to Kenya and seeing what the place is like? And I don't know, it's a place famous for like middle distance and long distance runners and all that kind of stuff. What would you know about the place? I wouldn't know too much outside of that.
Yeah, like I'm pretty keen to see how they tackle life, their culture. I've been to Nigeria a few times, maybe 4 months in total. So I've seen the African kind of side of life, but not so much Kenya. But I guess that it's another, like, seeing the Kenyan athletes and running with them and stuff will be a cool aspect of the whole trip. But the main goal is to bring light to climate change. So,
can we talk about your year playing football? At the start of the year, obviously you were on that run with the club, and then you ended up in an All-Ireland Club semi-final against Steelstown, and I think it was your shoulder you hurt that day, and the game was stopped up for 20 minutes. Like, how serious was it, and what's your recollection of that afternoon?
I was probably a bit naive in terms of how I viewed shoulder injuries. I thought you just pop it back in and play. But there's all this insurance cracks, and no one really wanted to pop it back in. They kept me there in the field for 20 minutes. It probably looked worse than what it was. I guess I was able to rehab it for the next 9 weeks, get back to playing. Not fully confident in my body still, because it was niggling me all year, and then holding off surgery till the very end of the season. So I guess, it was a lot of ups and downs. It came at a very unfortunate time, the very start of the season, so I missed all the preseason league, and that's the last thing I needed as well, trying to transition back from AFL to Gaelic.
And how did it happen?
I went for a diving block, and I just landed really awkwardly and twisted into my shoulder, and just popped it out of place really badly.
Yeah, how painful was it?
Yeah, look, by far the worst pain I've endured anyways across my football.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you before you could get back and play properly?
Probably the bones of 2.5 months. Never fully got the strength back into it. I was able to kind of strap it up and kind of plod away over the course of the year. But hopefully now come January after surgery, I should be back to full strength.
So since coming back from the AFL, can you tell us about the challenges of trying to get back into playing football after being away with AFL for a while, and even just finding what position suits you best after coming back?
Yeah, I guess what Jack tried me midfield against Limerick, more so because I was fairly confident and comfortable there. It's pretty universal in terms of how much attacking and defending you do. It's more so a case of just getting out there and getting a feel of the ball, getting a feel of the pace of the game again. It definitely is tricky coming back, because you have to try figure out how to kick. For me, anyways, how to kick the ball again, where to run, where not to run, off ball, positioning, and that only comes at games. So, I guess hopefully now next year I can get a couple more games under my belt and try to figure it all out.
Michael,
was it difficult going away, Stefan? It's a big move to make at an early stage of your life, and even a lot of the talk would have been around the time you left that, you know, there was a golden generation of Kerry footballers coming, and you'd obviously had a lot of success at minor and under 20. I suppose, was it difficult to leave from a personal point of view, and was it difficult to leave knowing maybe what you were leaving behind in Kerry?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult when they offered the contract the first time around. So initially, I went out there when I was 17 or 18 for like a combine in Florida, then Australia, and didn't get a contract that time around. So when the contract came around a year later, I didn't jump at it straight away. I had to speak to my family first because football was going really well, college was going well. I guess I was on that typical career path of progressing up the ranks in Kerry plus college, graduating college, etc. So it definitely wasn't an easy decision to make. But if I had my time back, I wouldn't change it for a thing. I look back with really fond memories of my time in Australia, regardless of all the injuries I had.
What was that like? What was it like being a pro sports person? It's what, you know, anyone involved in sport is generally what they dream of. Was it everything you expected it to be?
Yeah, it's not. I guess it's not as rosy as you may think. Is for me, I completely overlooked the fact that I could potentially be injured for two out of 3 years. I thought I'd be out there. I'd learn the ropes relatively quickly, and start kicking the lights out. And I was 20, probably a bit naive in my approach to it all. But one thing I kind of struggled with early days was how much spare time you had. Like you're pretty much lethargic throughout all preseason for the 4 months. You had no energy to do anything else. So yeah, you have a lot of spare time. I guess you can focus on different avenues in your life. What interests you? I picked up reading, I guess. Read quite a lot in my spare time, and yeah.
And what would be your favorite book? Actually, can't but ask that.
Sapiens by Dr.
Sapiens. Oh,
yeah, you
take forever to read that.
Yeah, I've read all 3 of them. It's I've read them all twice, and it's like ridiculous. It's just changed your perspective. You learn so much. That hands down my favorite book.
Just on what you say about the free time, Stefan, can you see how, you know, particularly it's obviously mentioned about pro soccer players a lot, how they're almost bored, and a lot would maybe get into, say, gambling or something like that. Can you see that when you're actually in that kind of bubble and you see the amount of free time, it's easy kind of find maybe not the best distractions, shall we say?
Yeah, it definitely opens gates towards the negative aspects in terms of the distractions, but I don't know. It's like soccer players they're in a different mindset to AFL players, and they're not exactly paid 20 mil per year, so they're not in the same thinking space. I think AFL players are fairly similar to Gaelic lads, like heads on screwed, relatively screwed. But yeah, look, I can see what happens, and it does happen, but it happens across all sporting codes. You know, gambling is a huge issue, but they have a few campaigns that bring it to light in Australia, so kind of keeps players on a straight and narrow.
Did you have a good network around you when you were out in Australia? Was there plenty of other Irish out there?
Heaps of Irish. So I was quite lucky. My first year, my best mate was out there. My second year, another childhood friend and my sister flew out there. So anytime I was homesick, I always had them to bounce off. And as you know, there's Irish fellas everywhere. I fellas texting me to go down to Gaelic football training games the whole time. So it was nice to get a fix of your Irish accents.
And was there any homesickness for you? Like obviously that happens for plenty of people.
I'm not quite. I wouldn't classify myself as a home bird, but I was definitely. It's hard. I'm not the best at kind of judging my emotions. I think when I was injured, you had so much spare time to yourself and so much spare time in this thing up here in your mind. Like I guess I kind of forced myself to be homesick, but maybe I was just missing being uninjured or being injury free. You know, so I don't think there's a time where I was fully homesick.
And while you say that you have no regrets of going out there, do you regret how it went in terms of like the injuries, and do you feel it could have worked out differently if you weren't laid up so often?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely could have. But like I think in a previous interview I was saying that I don't like focusing on the hypotheticals, what ifs, because like you'd be doing that for the rest of your life, you know. Like things panned out the way they did. I still made great lifelong friends. Had a huge life experiences. Changed my perspective on how I view the world. And yeah, look, it's just the way the cards are always dealt, I guess.
And so, how do you attack this next season with the county in terms of, like, you know, you've played under Jack O'Connor before. Obviously, you've been there for that last year or more. You were, I think, Munster under 20 player of the year under Jack, so he knows you pretty well at this stage. Like, how do you approach this next season with Kerry? Because obviously, you want to get far more involved.
Well, first and foremost, just try to get a bit of confidence back into my body, and I think I'm getting there quite quickly. I'm pretty happy with how I'm progressing from surgery. I guess next year is just a case of get the body right, do what I can, drive it on next year and try to submit a spot on the starting team.
When you say confidence in your body, Stefan, is that a case of just because there's been a few injuries over the last couple of years that there's nearly a worry, or is it just like the injuries? Is it the injuries that you have already that to be a worry over, or is it just a confidence about your kind of body in general that you're fearful of picking up another knock?
Confidence about my body in general. So I guess subconsciously your style of play is completely restricted. You're not playing as freely. I think there's a couple of training sessions there last year where I was just thinking, right, it's a big session, big practice game. What's gonna go next? Is it my calf, my hamstring? And like, you can't be going into games with that mindset, you know. So my focus now is get my body right and take it from there. Just take it week by week.
Do you feel there's a lot of untapped potential? I was chatting to Kieran Byrne, who was the Louth player, who was over. He was over playing AFL for a good while, and it said it just took him a while to get back into things, and he had a couple of injuries and that as well. But he feels like he's kind of no more than yourself, getting maybe a clean run with injury now, and he feels there's a lot of untapped potential, we'd say, in the Gaelic world. Would you feel the same?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I haven't had 4 or 5 weeks spell without being injured the last 12 months. So I really am looking forward to what I can bring to the table.
Of all the players that you're playing with in Kerry, is it just pretty obvious to say that David Clifford is the most talented one in there? I'm sure he does ridiculous things in training that are probably even better than some of the things that he's done in matches.
Yeah, look, so in training now, it's never an easy feat. So I'm either marking Cliffy or Sean O'Shea. Like the hardest person I find to mark on a wet day in particular is Tony Brosnan. Like he'd spin on a 2-pence. He's very, very skillful, very quick, agile. And yeah, he probably doesn't get as much publicity, but no, he's a great player also. Yeah,
and could you see Clifford? Would Clifford have made it in the AFL? Do you think? Is he the sort, like, because maybe it's a different type of athlete they want? I'm not sure, but would you have seen him succeed there?
Yeah, definitely. He's tall, he's strong, he's quick. Has a great mindset. So yeah, no, I think he would have done well. But fortunately for Kerry, he stayed put.
Yeah. And how do you think Kerry are set in terms of like the defence of the Sam Maguire next year? Do you think you're in a good position to defend it?
Yeah, I think definitely can't be complacent tackling next year. And I'm looking forward to the inaugural meeting that we have before the start of next season, just to kind of recap of the last year and how we'll tackle the following year. But I definitely don't think it'll be an easy feat with Dublin having Paul and Jack back.
And just in terms of your life away from the field, so obviously you come back, you trade one sport for another in a way. But in terms of you're no longer a professional sportsman, did it take you long to adjust to getting back and being like, okay, what am I doing in terms of work and adjusting to that?
I think I was lucky in that respect, as in I had college to resume. I was back into third year, so I had a leave of absence every single year, so I was straight back into third year after maybe 3 months of kind of finding my bearings again with life. And yeah, I had college and friends and family to kind of occupy me, and football, I guess.
And did that take even a bit of adjustment going back to college?
Yeah, it definitely did. But I think being a small bit older, a bit more driven, definitely worked in my favor.
And where are you in college and what are you doing?
I'm in UL trying to finish a biomedical engineering degree.
Yeah, okay. So what's the plan in terms of like what sort of job would we see you in down the line then?
Sure, if you have some dodgy hips, I'll design the next years. I'll design them for you.
You get plenty of work from the GA, I'd imagine, in the years ahead. Michael, anything else you want to ask?
Yeah, no. I don't know if Jack is listening or not, but what's your preferred position, Stefan? If you were to try and nail down one position with Kerry, where would it be? Because some people say 3, some people say 6. He obviously tried you midfield at different stages when you were fit last year. Where would you see yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm probably most comfortable at midfield, but I don't mind having a role like tagging a player for the game as well. I think
okay.
Most comfortable spot.
Okay. Who do you think is going to win the? I think it's going to be between Listry and Fossa. I don't know if you've been keeping much of an eye on that, but Clifford scored 9 points again in the weekend or in the Premier Junior final. Would you be keeping an eye on things at that level?
Yeah, I'd keep relative to Ev's conversation with mates. I'd say Fossa.
Okay, going to be hard to stop the Cliffords. Okay, well, look, it's been brilliant having you on the show, Stefan, and best of luck with the season ahead, and hopefully the injuries clear up.
Lovely. Thanks a million, lads. Great chatting to you.
Stefan. Good man.